Let's welcome Michelle. Michelle has 20 plus years experience in the film industry, and I was lucky to work with her also to provide videos for video tutorials for check.com. She gave me the opportunity, and I'm really thankful, and I'm so glad that we caught up again. So very nice to have you with us, Michelle. So the first thing is, what impact does Sora have on the industry and on you as filmmakers?
I think to some extent that's still yet to be determined. I think that, currently the impact is small because it's still in development phase. I mean, they're putting it out, right? But I mean, the reality is it's going to take some time for people to really work with it, for the bugs to get worked out, right? Like people are looking at the material and it looks really great, but there's still glitches, there's still issues, like things are going to evolve over time, right? Some of the things that stand out to me currently would be um, they're learning, these tools are learning tools, right? In terms of how they're developed and uh how they improve. And so they're using material to learn, and those people are not being compensated. So for example, future state, there might be some replacement of some roles for designers or illustrators or people who are creatives in the industry, and they're using their content and their materials for these AI tools to learn, right? And they're not being compensated for that. And in future state, we might need less illustrators, we might need less creative people to design things because the tools use their materials to learn how to do it and become more automated, right? So that's one thing. Um, Obviously, not specific to film in the sense of entertainment, but like obviously concerns about deep fake and where that could go. And I know that they're going to start try to
Hmm.
put parameters on what's able to happen and not. But no matter what you do, people always find a way around certain things. So those are more current concerns. As far as the future state of the industry, the impact is we can see where things are moving. We can help make these tools more refined. And we can see from a roadmap at least some kinds of roles and positions or content, that could be utilizing these tools and might make them simpler and less expensive to make. But we're not quite there yet. This is just the precipice. We're just jumping off. It's just happening now. It's being developed. And to use them in a large way in big movies and things like this, there needs to be a lot more refinement. What you'll see, I think, first will be like the online content being using this stuff first, obviously, and smaller screens, more room for those errors being an issue or not an issue, as different from the expectation of a feature or a TV show or something like that.
So are you concerned as a film producer, or you know any of the people who work with you, the illustrators, the designers, are they also concerned?
I think I think I'm concerned in some ways. In some ways, I'm also optimistic in others,
Hmm.
right? There has always been evolution in creative and in video content, right? What we're talking about. I started off when I went to film school, when I got my master's, I learned using actual film. And I think like I hand cut film. I spliced film together. And so actually I understand terminology in a different way than people that came up simply in digital world that don't understand the frames per second. It actually has to do because they're actually frames in film. And if you cut one frame, what does that mean? I actually learned hands-on what that meant, right? And everybody's worried about everything moving to digital. Yes, it changed positions. Now there's need for certain kind of role versus a different kind of role. Like for example, on sets you need a DIT, someone who's downloading the film, sorting the footage, all these things. There's less of people who actually used to sit down and put their hands in a little tent and take the film off the things and do it all under the darkness of that. Like there's less of that, but now there's another role that has to sort files and do things. So, you know, things evolve and things change, right? I think at its core, there are certain things that don't change, right? There are storytelling is a necessity. And I think no matter how good AI gets, I don't think it can do what people do when it comes to really understanding story, right? I also think that it'll never it'll never really understand the nuances, I think, of the human emotion to the extent, right? The subtleties. And also, there's a lot of stuff that happens in content creation, whether it's filmmaking or even YouTubers, that is off the cuff, that is unexpected, that is unscripted. And those gems of things that happen will never happen if everything is created through an AI system. So I do think like it is like anything else, it will be a tool, and I'm sure it'll be utilized, and I'm sure it will make changes in the industry. And maybe there will be roles that are less or have to change to something completely different. It doesn't mean maybe there's less roles in the creation process, but they're not the same as they used to be. But that's been true throughout the evolution of the medium. We evolve, we change. I think, but at its core, the most important components of what go into it, those things remain at its core, and they always have.
You do not believe that, for example, in the future, a good prompter or let's say, a great author or a writer can replace someone, like with few prompts, generate like a Hollywood movie or something like that. You don't believe this because I also saw that um, if you remember back, I don't exactly know when, but the I think actors or producers protested in Hollywood against something in AI. Uh,
Yeah. There's a lot of concerns around AI in general. It's also a moving target right now. It's still really being developed. And I think that we won't see the full, what can happen. Yes, do I think an AI can spit out a feature script? Absolutely, it can. But that doesn't mean it would have the same nuances and
Mhm.
gravitas, if you will, or whatever, as a human would. And I think like anything else, it's a tool. So if somebody is writing a film and they're stuck or they can't think of something and they're looking for ideas, I think they could use it as a tool, right? In my opinion, this is my opinion. I'm not saying if you could put in some prompts and say write a script, absolutely you could spit out a script. Could somebody go make that movie? 100% they could. That's possible. But I don't think you're going to get the quality and the emotional impact you do when you have a person who's creating and understands things that the system I don't think ever will personally. I think it can be used as a tool. If I'm a writer and I'm writing a scene and I'm stuck on what to do next, I could spit in the information. Here's what's going on. Here are the characters. I'm looking for something that would fulfill this. Give me 5 ideas. And it could spark ideas, but I don't think it can fully replace and have the same impact. That's my personal belief. I think that no matter what tools you use, no matter whether it's, VR 360 or anything, right? These things, they come and they evolve. But at its core, good storytelling, right? To me, I don't think you get that exactly with an AI generated um,
Because I
tool.
actually sometimes like I compared it to the Industrial Revolution in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's more concerning now, it's like in the past, things were automated and machines were doing like lots of jobs, lots of tasks at the same time, mass production. But today, as if you feel like these machines are starting to think, and this is what people are afraid of. Like, are these gonna replace the human creativity? So, which
Yeah.
I still believe not, but I don't know. It's still a question more than like lots of questions more than answers. So,
Yes.
what do you think about it?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that it's going to continue to learn. And I think 10 years down the line, I'm not sure what that looks like, but I don't think it can replace personally.
Mhm.
I think there is something about who we are as a species and our minds, and it can mimic and it can learn, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to me, the spontaneity, right?
Mhm.
That there's something missing. Like when I think this could be a game changer, right? But like to me, what I see this as a really great tool for right now, maybe it'll change. I'd be looking more about like B-roll and stock footage and things like that. Like, I think that this could be a game changer in those areas, right? But if you're looking for the subtlety in a performance, no, right? Like, it can spit out a person doing something, but a person for like a generic use, but a person who is processing something to think through as they're in that place to do something, they might do things that are just not even on the page because they're in the moment of it that would change the possibility of that movie. And AI isn't going to do that. They're going to do what it's told specifically, right? Um, and I don't comedy, right? Like, can it improv? Like, could it do those things? Like, I don't think so. There are things that it can't, I don't believe it will ever be able to do in the way that you get from a person, you know?
Yeah, so because like when actually Sora was released, the immediate question on my mind was, um, is it just few prompts enough to like establish an interview like this one? Like I can say just, oh, this is Ahmed Kuta and this is Michelle, and she's saying that, Ahmed is saying that, and this is the background, this is the interview, and like they suddenly an interview like this is, for example, established, and it's not true. It's not like, how can people in the future know that this interview is really done by us as people and not like just few prompts? So
Yeah.
this was the immediate question, like, oh my God, where is this going? So
Yeah.
yeah. So do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't think it'll ever have that human element.
Mm-hmm.
It can only go so far because it is not human, right? And even right now, right, there's no audio, so it's not going to give us an interview, but it can give great ideas and it can try to mimic a thought process, but it does not give you the thought process. For example, I might be writing something or looking for ideas for bullet points for something, and I'm going to input a whole bunch of information into like AI, into like, like chat GBT. And it's going to spit something out, and I might say, give me another option, give me another option, give me another option. And I'm going to look at those, and it gives me an idea, like, because I'm looking for a word to represent a thought, or I'm looking for something. But do I ever feel like it exactly how I would write it? No. Like, it gives me an idea or like a word choice or a combination that's like, okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But then I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to write it in the way that makes sense to me or how I would express something. So I feel like these are great tools. As we moved into digital and we stopped using film and we have like the editing systems changed, right? Like, they're great tools, right? Can you find things to auto sync things? Yes. But if you have like something auto edit something, it's a great tool, but then you need to go back and fine tune it because it might miss some subtleties that might seem more like an error, but really that subtlety is the performance, right? And I think like that's what you're not going to get, right? That those components. So they're great. I think all of the technology and as we evolve, they're great tools, right? And I think like it changes things. For example, when you talk about the Industrial Revolution and all these things, right? Or like when we're talking about moving to clean energy, right? Like, yes, some of these jobs will end, but there will be different jobs, right? And so how do we evolve, right? Like I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have a cell phone till I was, like a teenager, right? And it was like very, very basic. And my kids only know this, right? And
Mhm.
they can do things with this in a way that I don't because they're coming up in a new technology era, right? And so they can utilize that tool. They get on FaceTime with family and they're doing things that I never saw it before because it wouldn't occur to me to use. And if I don't evolve with the tools, then I'm, going to move out of sort of what's possible. But they're coming up in it. And so they're more prepared to utilize those tools and how do we use those in what we do. Right. I think that's the way I think about this. Like you said, all the way back then, we started, automating things. And there were certain jobs, but then we needed different jobs. Same thing in the film industry and as we go. I think it might evolve. It doesn't necessarily ever, I don't think it'll ever say like we don't need humans anymore. What we need will change and evolve.
That's what people want to hear. Like, we will still be useful, and they will still be tools, because we need tools to help us, but we're concerned like if some of these tools might replace us. So I hope this will open more jobs and will have a brighter future, as we will, I hope we will see. So thank you very much, Michelle, um for being here with me in this interview. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best.